So I have kept you guys on mute, some background sound just to avoid that. But raise the hand if by chance you have anything to speak. Imagine while teaching, any doubts you got, just raise the hand. There will be a hand symbol. Those who are new to Zoom, you can see there will be one small hand symbol, and that you have to click. So I will come to know that you want to ask something. So I right click and go to the class and created a class. Every coding, whatever you are planning, it should be inside a class. So suppose my class name is something called employee, right? I created the class name called employee. So by default program.cs came, and just now I created one new class called employee. So class will always kept inside a namespace, right? And inside class, you have to plan whatever you want to plan. So today what we are going to plan is how to use maximum about the constructor, first thing. Then we will go for destructor, property, and so on and so forth. Achha, who can tell me for what purpose we are using constructor? In fact, we have discussed it. Yeah.
It is used to initialize class.
To initialize what?
It is used to initialize class.
Data members in a class. Okay.
Yes.
Data members in a class. Like about employee, if you are thinking, data member can be employee ID. It can be name of the employee. It can be salary of the employee. Three things. Employee salary. And constructor means public. Whatever class name, it should be always same as the constructor name. So employee, as of now we saw this is the constructor. Whatever value you want to give by default, you have to give inside default constructor. Suppose by default I want 1002. By default employee name should be, let's say, Sudhir. By default, suppose I want to say employee salary is, by default means what you understand? As long as user is not entering, it should be by default this much. So suppose I will say 9999. This is one thing. Achha, suppose I will not use default constructor also. Imagine for a minute, we don't know anything about constructor. Simply I kept variables here. Can you tell me what will be the value of employee ID?
0.
0. Employee name?
It's null.
Null.
String.
Okay. Employee salary?
0.0.
Correct. So now we don't have any constructor, not even default constructor I mentioned. So any idea who is providing these values? Because usually constructor provides the values, either default value or explicit value, anything constructor provides. So I don't have constructor now. Still we are saying that, hey, by default it is. So who is providing that? Any idea?
Microsoft. We have default constructors.
We have one.
Default by using data types.
As long as you are not providing, as long as you don't provide any constructor, by default .Net provides a default constructor. Remember, okay? The moment you create a class, automatically .Net will provide you an internal default constructor with that name. The moment you create the object of that class, it will first come here. Did user provide any constructor? It will ask. Answer is yes, because you provided it. Then it will be executed. Suppose you don't have any constructor as of now. Directly you did something, calculation or function or anything. Then it will say, Acha, he has created the class, no problem, but he forgot to mention a constructor either, or he didn't want it, he is happy with the existing default value. So it will go and check what is the constructor available in inbuilt constructor, that is called default constructor also. That's why the name, if you are not providing also, by default it will call that default constructor provided by the system, that is .NET. That's why it is getting all those default values. But if you are giving yours, this is called my preference. That means you have one internally, no problem, 0, 0.00, null, etc. But I'm not happy with that 0, 0.00, etc. Can you give these values by default? That means you are overwriting inbuilt default constructor value with your explicit default constructor. So this is called default constructor only, but explicit default constructor, that is called implicit default constructor. Now matter is, by default it is providing something, it's fine. But on demand, while creating the object, last class we have seen how to create object. If you remember, here we go and then use the namespace, and along with that namespace we say, let's say obj equal to new employee, open bracket, close bracket, semicolon, and we use that namespace, basically this namespace. Nothing new, these things we have already seen last class. You have to say using whatever the namespace, and then you will create the object. And then object dot, if you have any function that you do, if you don't have any function, constructor itself will be called in line number 4, right? So suppose I want to display these values, default values only. I will come to parameterized constructor, but first recall what we have discussed last class about the default constructor. So I will have one function called void display employee data.
Sir, I have one small question.
Yeah.
Sir, in case
Raise the hand.
In case we don't have direct constant value to provide in constructor, can we define any a small function or something inside constructor also?
If you want to call function inside constructor, yes, you can call, no problem, if necessary.
To determine value, like we can call something in the constructor also, right?
Possible.
Okay.
So I just say 0, 1, 2. That means 3 things we want to use in this sentence. So I said 0, 1, 2. Okay. Another way of displaying also. Last class we displayed like this, right? 0, 1, 2, and 0th position what to display will be emp ID, right? 1 position what to display will be employee name, so emp name, right? And 2 position what to display is emp salary, employee salary. So these are the ways we display. One way is this. Another way is, if you put a dollar symbol at the beginning, just like this, in this 0 position directly you can mention this employee ID, just like this. Similarly, 1 position you can mention this one also directly, and 2 position you can mention this one also directly. 2 different syntax, meaning is same. Okay, meaning is same. There is nothing called best practice or wrong practice. Whether you use that one or this one, both are exactly same. So now I want to call this function. So how to call? With the help of object. So obj dot this, open bracket, close bracket, semicolon, and then console dot read key. Since we already know these things, little quickly I am just doing it and running it. So nothing new. As of now, whatever we did already we know in last class. So today what we want to go to learn extra is, this is a default constructor and it will give me default values, but I want explicit values to be passed from the program.cs. How to pass those values and receive in the class and then display them. That is called parameterized constructor. So hold on for a minute. You can see these are the values we gave default, and those values has been initiated to the object. Now suppose while creating the object, I want to pass some data. I will now comment this line, and or you can do the different way. First you give the default value, then you call that function. After that you give some explicit value, then call that function. That means two bunch of data it will display. So what I want to do is I want to pass here obj1. In obj1 I want to pass some data here. To pass those data you have to first have the default, what is a parameterized constructor. So public employee, whether parameterized constructor or default constructor, after all it's a constructor, so you have to use like this. Can you see it is automatically providing all this the moment I started. It is understanding. That is called intelligence, right? So intelligence is assuming perhaps you want default, already default constructor is there, perhaps you want some parameterized constructor, so it is giving me this. Acha, if you see by default when it suggested you, are you able to see that gray color part? So it is suggesting same name, here also employee ID, here also employee ID, here also emp name, here also emp name, right? Temporary variable also same name with the class variable. That's why this operator is required left side. But if you are an intelligent developer, you are thinking why I will use same name, so that it will confuse which is temporary, which is global variable or class variable. So I will take little different things. So what you do, just accept what it is providing to you, then little bit you change these names. If you change these names little bit, instead of emp, I said EEE. So what will happen? I don't need this operator. This operator is a solution for a problem, not suggested to use. Okay, so I will say EID and emp name, ename, and then eSalary. That means if by chance you don't have any option, it is perhaps Microsoft's class, you don't have access to modify these names, then no way you have to use this operator, this dot, this dot, this dot. That this dot indicates class dot, means my class variable emp id, and this side temporary variable emp id. But since I changed the name, so no problem, this is not required, this dot not required. So directly I can say whatever EID I collected, provide that EID to employee ID, ename to this, eSalary to this. In the same sequence, you have to pass the data from here. Have a look how I am passing it. So you have to start a bracket. The moment you start a bracket now, it will say, hey, there are two constructors available. One is 0 parameter constructor, one is 3 parameter constructor. Which one you are talking about? You are saying, yeah, 0 argument or 0 parameter I have already called in line number 4. Now I want to pass parameters from here. That means I want to pass the value from the program.cs, and as per my value, please do the operation. Then in the same sequence, you have to pass the value. How? Suppose I want to say, hey, here my employee ID is 103 or 107. My employee name is, let's say, Sumit. My employee salary is, let's say, 8888. There it was 9999 something. I passed it. That means obj is also one object allocated in the random access memory. obj1 also one object allocated in random access memory. But if I will call with obj, the values it will display just like this. Suppose I am saying obj I used and called that function, what it is going to display, and obj1 I am using, calling that function, what it is going to display, it will be definitely different. So what you are expecting in this line, guys? Expectation. What values?
Those variables we defined inside the class 1002 Sudhir and 9999.
Absolutely, 1002 Sudhir and 9999. We are expecting here 1002 Sudhir, because by default, as long as you are not passing anything, it will take default value. When you pass something, it will take your value. So set the expectation and then see the output, so that it will clarify you much. So what is expectation here?
107.
These
Sumit,
three things.
888.
107.
Yeah.
Sumit,
Yeah.
888.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to give a line break in between, there is a command called console.writeLine. Simply open bracket, close bracket, semicolon. It will give a line break in between. Okay. One answer I want. After that, one break line. Then I want second answer. Right? Somebody has raised the hand. I will get back to you. Let's first execute it with a debug mode. So put a breakpoint here. Why here, guys? Because when compiler will come, always it will start its journey from middleware only. That means program.cs. So it will start from here. If I will press F11, it will go to it will go to default constructor as per our expectation, right? Line number 4, default constructor is here. Then it will execute like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. From line number 23, again it will back to line number 4. Then it will go to line number 6. Again here it will jump from here to line number 25. Then respective data will be copied to the parameterized constructor, and those values will be again provided to the object. Object means class variables, it will provide it. Then from line number 30, it will back to line number 6, and then it will come to call line number 8. 8 line number is using object called obj, and inside obj perhaps Sudhir's detail is there, so it will display Sudhir's detail here, because from line number 8 it will jump to line number 32, and then it will display default data, because using default object only you are calling the function. Once it displayed whose data? Sudhir's data, then it will back to line number 9, and then it will jump to line number 10. In line number 10, what it will do? It will again jump from here to line number 32, then it will display Sunil's data, or whose data? Sumit's data, and then it will back to line number 10, then console.readkey. That is the expectation. But our expectation is meeting or not? Let's debug and see. So make sure here is debug, and then click on that green color arrow mark after putting a breakpoint. I hope nothing new for you guys. How to put breakpoint, how to debug, how to press F10, how to press F11. You are already masters now, right? Now I will ask you and I will do the operation. So what should I press now here to jump to respective constructor?
F10.
There is an arrow mark, right? Besides 4.
No, what key combination should I? What function key should I press?
F10, right?
F10 or F11?
11.
F11.
Sorry, F11.
F10 will bring me to line number 6. Okay. F11 will bring me to that constructor which will be called in line number 4. So let's press F11. Come here. Acha, you will ask, sir, there are two constructors. Why it came to line number 18? Why not line number 25? What is the answer for that?
Because we are using without parameters.
Absolutely. So here if you see line number 4, we are using without parameter. So without parameter means it will call default constructor. With parameter means it will call respective with parameter wala constructor. So as simple as that, it came to line number 18. Now should I press F10 or F11 to go to next line, next line, next line?
F11.
F10. Okay.
F10.
Okay. So F10, 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 because you have to go to next line, next line, next line. Then you came back. When you came back, you take the mouse to obj and observe what are all it is keeping inside. Okay. So have a look. Inside obj, what are all it is keeping? Now default values it is keeping, as simple as that. Now again I am pressing F11 because I want to jump to parameterized constructor. Expectation here is whatever we send from there, it should copy here. Have a look. Employee ID become 107, employee name becomes Sumit, and employee salary become 8888. So those are all assigned to the class variable. Now somebody may think, sir, in line number 4 we provided Sudhir's detail. In line number 6 we provided Sumit's detail. Is it like old data will be overwritten with new data? Answer will be yes or no, guys?
No, it will not be.
It will be no, because both are two different objects altogether. That means first allocation of the memory called obj, which is storing Sudhir's detail. Second allocation of the memory is obj1, which is storing Sumit's detail. Right? So I have full freedom. You are using obj or you are using obj1. Based on that, it will use those values. Conceptualization, if you think about little, inside random access memory, what happening here is, it is just providing two allocation unit. One is obj and one is obj1, something like this. And Sudhir's detail and Sumit's detail, it will be keeping different location altogether. So this is obj and this is obj1. So why it will overwrite? Right? Why it will overwrite? Altogether different allocation unit. So here also one copy of name, employee ID, salary. Here also one copy of employee name, salary and employee ID. That's why nobody is overwriting anybody. Now depends is which object you are using to call the function, and that function will be using those values only. You can see currently line number 8 will be using Sudhir's detail because I am calling by the object called obj. So F11 came here. Now check Sudhir's detail or Sunil's detail. So here it says 1002, here it says Sudhir, here it says his salary. That means default object, default constructor, the default value. Now let's go for parameterized things. So first output has already come. You can see first output has already come. Now you want to give a line break. Line break means one gap line. F10, F11 again came. This time you say whether Sudhir's detail or Sumit's detail. Sumit's detail, because this time I am using parameterized object creation, parameterized constructor calling. So all explicit value will come and display. That means one time implicit value means default value, one time both are explicit only, but one is default given by me, one is parameterized given by me only. So you can see there are two lines of the answer. Then it will back to your program.cs and then it will wait for you to press any key, then it will close the program. You can see that cursor is blinking. That is because of this console.read key. So should I press any key now? Imagine I press enter or space bar or anything, then it will come out of the program. Now you ask me. Somebody has raised the hand. Nothing. Any question mark here?
Sir, can you tell me why we use this dot?
This dot indicates if by chance your name is same. Imagine your temporary variable name as well as your class variable name is exactly same, right? So can you see red color underline?
Yeah.
It will say no, not red color, it will come green color actually. So let me use that. So you will see it is giving one warning saying which one you want, left side one this one or right side one this one or what? How it will understand? Both are same name now, right? That's why you have to tell some differentiation. This is called temporary variable whose accessibility will start from here, end in line number 30. Okay, but this is one global variable which is defined in the class level. That means it is available here also, and here also. So now don't you think it will conflict? This is also int empid. This is also int empid. Okay, that's why it is saying, array, tell me now which one is what. Right? So now you want to differentiate.
This, we can
if you want to identify the class variable, then you have to use this dot. Then it will say, now I understood. This is class variable and this is your temporary variable. Imagine you will write opposite things by mistake somewhere here. What is the meaning of this?
We are using this class variables.
This always will be for class variable. That means what is the meaning of this line now?
We are trying to manipulate that global variable.
No, you are saying opposite. You are trying to manipulate temporary variable. That means it is like collect the data from class variable, provide it to temporary variable. But that is not our requirement. Na? Our requirement is collect the data from temporary variable, because just now it collected from program.cs and provide it to class variable. That's why left side we use this. But you are further intelligent. You said that array na rahe bans, na baje bansuri, remove it. Over. I will use separate name, so no conflict at all. Why should I think about resolving conflict? Okay. Over. Not required at all this. So why 1 microsecond extra it will take? Over. I used a different name altogether. The temporary variable different name, class variable different name, so no need for this separator. But by the way, anytime in future, it may not be your class, somebody else defined it, you are going to use it, you have no option to change the name, or maybe it is class variable defined by Microsoft. No, sometimes inbuilt classes you are using, right? So in such cases where you have no option to change the names of the temporary variable or permanent variable or whatever global variable, then you can go for this separator. So what is this separator now? How to answer? In case there is a conflict between temporary variable and the class variable with the same name, to identify class variable, use this separator. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Any other question mark, guys? Subarna, you have any question?
Yeah. Sir, you have used two different objects.
The way the things get mapped for the copy constructor, you have the object first and followed by the value, right? Is it possible to swap this information? Like
possible. Possible. Not an issue. Whatever sequence, that sequence you have to pass. That is important.
Okay, in that case, if I pass two values as like say 107, or pass some other values, and finally if I pass an object, so it's just going to map the last value to the object, right?
Possible, absolutely fine. So here what sequence you are mentioning, while passing also same sequence you have to pass, that is important. But restriction is not there, okay?
Understood, yeah, thank you.
Alright, so Destructor, let me write the heading as Destructor, as the word meaning itself is destructor, perhaps it is used for destroying something. So constructor is called, guys, when the object is created. That you know already. When object will be created, respective constructor will be called, because always construction happens at the beginning, destruction happens at the end. So imagine you have already run this line number 16. You are coming out of the program. So do you think all this Sumit's data, Sudhir's data, all data which is available in random access memory, do you think that is required anymore? No, right? Imagine you are again running the program. So again it will allocate, no? Again it will allocate. Why I will keep those data unnecessarily, right? So who knows, I am logging out from the computer and going home. So why should I keep those data in the random access memory? Sometimes as a good developer, you can do it like this. Hey, I initialize the object number 1. I initialize the object number 2. I used both the objects. My output is display. My work is over. I am logging out the computer and going home. So why should this value should be in the random access memory? That concept is called garbage. Okay. If you are not clearing these values, you say it as I left some garbage value. I left some garbage value. In technology, we say it as garbage value. After running the program, whatever values are still available in the random access memory. So it's a good developer practice always. No doubt your constructor helped you to initialize the value. But when you come out of the program, just de-initialize those values. That's the best practice. Otherwise, not a forcefully things, mandatory things, not a mandatory things. But if you are using, it's a good habit. How to use that? Very simple. Just put a tilde operator. In keyboard, if you see number key, extremely left in the number key, there is a tilde operator. So use that, then use the constructor name or class name, whatever it is, employee, then open bracket, close bracket, curly bracket, open and close. Acha, sometimes what happens, people will think like this. Inside this object, I have employee ID, employee name, salary. Inside this object also I have employee ID, employee name, salary, right? For every object, I want only to clean salary part. Let it be their employee ID, employee name, because that is not that secure information. If anybody will come to know also, I don't bother, so let it be there. When automatic garbage collection will come, it will clean it. There is something called automatic garbage collection. Automatic garbage collection means you run the program maybe some 7:30, okay? You run the program 7:30, you close the C# program, Visual Studio, everything. You are busy for other work. Now processor got free after 1 minute or 1 second or maybe 5 seconds. Now it comes and cleans this data. It will say that, array, this object is already used. Nobody is going to use it now. Program is already closed. No more scope. So let's clean it, right? So automatic garbage collection will come and clean it. That is also feature of .NET only. That is written in such a way that whatever .NET program might have already finished, already executed, no more scope, those data it will identify easily and it will go and clean it. That is called automatic garbage collection. That's why you are relaxed. Chalo, after 1 minute or 2 minutes, whenever processor will be free, it will come and clean it. Why should we bother about Destructor, etc.? But sometimes what happens, some information will be very sensitive, like your net banking password, OTP. If you will say that, chalo, I will relax, I will close the browser, go home, let processor get free after 2 minutes, 5 minutes, it will come and clean the data. But hackers are very smart. They will not give even a single second extra, forget about 5 minutes extra. So as a good developer, you can think, even though I don't want to clean all data, at least sensitive data I should clean and go out. If you have patience to clean everything, like employee ID equal to 0, employee name equal to blank, employee salary equal to 0.00, a mobile number equal to 0, email address equal to empty. If you have patience to give 100 things equal to 0, 0, 0, 0, absolutely fine. There could not be better than that. But patience also required. 100 things I will say 0, 0, null, 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 null. So that time you can think, okay, at least which is very sensitive, I don't want anybody should corrupt that data, I will make it 0 and come out. This is called de-initializing the data, not disposing the data. Remember, disposing the data means that memory itself, that 32-bit or 64-bit or 128-bit, what it might have taken the memory, it will completely disposed. But this time Destructor is not helping you to dispose this. It will say, hey, I will help to de-initialize. Constructor is for initializing, Destructor is for de-initializing. That means it is not giving you 100% benefit. It is saying, security point of view, somebody cannot see your salary, that is for sure. But that 128-bit of memory, which decimal value takes, I cannot help you. It will be still there. Now, who will clean that? Completely cleaning means your automatic garbage collector. Okay. But Destructor is saying, काम चलाओ. That means as long as that automated garbage collection is not coming, I will help you. Okay. I will at least clean that data, not the memory. Memory will be still 128-bit allocated. But it will say in that 128-bit, instead of 11,000, I will say 0 and then come out. So this is little different type of security. But garbage collection is little different type of security. So you will not say Destructor is doing garbage collection. You will say Destructor is doing what? De-initialization. Okay. So constructor initializes destructor de-initializes. Already I have written here, right? To initialize data member in the class. This is to de-initialize data member in the class. Okay. Now question arises, in which sequence it will do? Obj also there, obj1 is there, obj2 is there. Imagine 4 5 objects is there like this. Only one it will clean or all it will clean? What it will do? If all it will clean, in which sequence it will clean? Any idea, guys? Suppose I have obj, obj1, obj2, obj3. Okay. In which sequence it will go and clean it? Salary, 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 salary. 4 salary will be there na inside. So which salary it will clean?
Maybe it follow FIFO. First in, first out.
Default.
Yeah. How many of you are saying LIFO? Last in, first out?
I think, sir, it will be. Sir, I think it will be LIFO. Last in, first out.
Always it will be LIFO. So it will clean this way. Okay. It will clean this way. I'll just give different color. So it will clean this way. Okay. So destructor, you simply wrote salary equal to 0. Hai na? Check it out. Salary equal to 0. But there are 4 copy of salary because you are talking about 4 different employees. So obj1, obj2, obj3, obj4. In which sequence it has created? In the reverse sequence, always it will clean it. You think, imagine you are going to Notepad. Okay. Here you are typing A also, B also, C also, D also. Your cursor is available where?
D.
Near to D, na? If I will ask you to delete, what you do suddenly?
Yes.
I'll delete D.
Right? Same thing it does also. Whenever you create one more object, why it is coming here and creating? Because your cursor is there, na? Just now you came here up to this. This memory is already full. Your cursor is blinking here. Almost like that. If you compare with this notepad thing, A, B, C, D, while deleting, first it will delete D. Imagine you create one more letter, then it will say here, K. It will not suddenly go to beginning and say K, right? Same thing happens there also. When you create one object also, it will create here. When you delete also, it will delete from there. I am not deleting, in fact, I am de-initializing, right? So this is called last in, first out. So bit more about constructor and destructor we understood. Any question, guys?